Hello and welcome to the Huddersfield Town preview show in association with Sportsbroker. We are lucky enough today to be joined by Town midfielder Scott. Hi, Scott, how are you?
I'm not bad, thank you. How are you?
And I'm fine, thank you. People don't ask me how I am usually, but I'm fine, thank you very much. And the examiner Stephen Chicken, how are you, Stephen?
I'm good, thank you. I don't need to ask how you are because we've just done it. So
this is true. People ask me how I am before we start recording, so that's slightly untrue. Not to make this all about me. Scott, we've got a home game tomorrow tomorrow afternoon. It feels like the morning because it's nearly kick off against Coventry City. How have preparations been going this week?
Yeah, really good. I think the whole team's been buying into what Carl wants us to do tomorrow afternoon, like he said, against Coventry. So I think all the tactics and stuff that we've been doing on the training pitch seem to be working, and hopefully we can take that into the game.
Yeah, do you slightly amend how your training works and how your routine looks before a game that sort of moved up? Because your entire day must be sort of changed a little bit, because usually about 12:30 you'll still be at the hotel, you'll still be taking your pre-match foods on and everything. Is it a bit odd and disorientating?
Not really. I think most of the things are the same, similar sort of stuff. So I think we try and keep the same sort of schedules and stuff like that to like not make it like different for each week, so we know what we're doing most weeks to get us ready for the games.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I just thought, do you think some of the lads might feel a bit different, or is that a personal preference where you're just all right to play whenever? Or
I don't mind, to be fair. Honestly, I don't mind any times. I think some of the lads might think that it might be a different time and that they might feel different, but I think once we know it's game time, I think we're all going to be on it and ready, I think.
Yeah, that's fair enough, I think. Stephen, Town obviously haven't had the results we wanted in the past few games, and Coventry are in exactly the same boat. They've only won 2 in their last 10, and I think they haven't won in their past 4. So it's two teams who are looking to get back on the winning side of the scoreline. How do you see this match going? Because Scott says that the lads will turn up wanting to play and give their best, which I'm sure is true, but for spectators, these 12:30 ones always seem to be a bit flatter for some reason, probably because the fans haven't had the chance to get a few extra pints on board.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a factor. But yeah, I think probably when Sky picked it, it looked a really, really attractive fixture because it was the two sort of surprise packages of the season, and there's nothing to say it can't still be a good game. I think there's a lot of intrigue around it because, as you say, both sides will be sort of desperate for a result, and it's almost sort of a 6-pointer for two sides who are looking to get back in the playoff race, for two sides who maybe certainly from a fan perspective wouldn't have been expecting to be sort of quite so high up the table.
Yeah.
I think obviously the cameras being there hopefully won't play much of a factor, but it's an interesting game for all kinds of reasons. I think it's first time Coventry fans have been to the John Smiths as well. I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, it's a conversation we were having in the office recently. Actually, it's been I think until the 70s. Huddersfield and Coventry haven't played each other very often.
No, that's right. Yeah, because they've just sort of missed each other because Cov were top flight for ages, weren't they? So obviously they played last year, but it's behind closed doors. So yeah, I'm sure. I think they've played a pre-season friendly before, but other than that, it's the first sort of competitive trip for Coventry fans. So I'm sure they'll be sort of looking to get a stadium ticked off on their list, and they'll be bringing a decent sized following, and they're just outside the playoffs themselves, and they'll be, as you say, similar to Town, looking for a response after a tough November.
It's an interesting one as well for people who have been at our club for a while as well. Speaking of having just missed each other and everything, there's people who've been working for Town for well over 10 years and they've never been to the Ricoh Arena. So looking down that further down the line, that's a new stadium to a lot of people at the club. So it's a really strange one, given that these are two very old, proud clubs that they do not have a recent history of playing each other.
Yeah, just never crossed over, did they?
Yeah. Scott, have you ever played other than last season Coventry? Have you been to the Rico before on one of your loans or anything like that?
I remember going there when I was under 23s. I remember being on the bench. I don't think I got on, but I remember going to that stadium. I think definitely. Yeah.
And with playing them tomorrow, obviously they're in, overall having a good season. Matt Robbins is somebody who was here previously. You'll have been in the youth team at that point, so you won't have had much to do with him, I don't think. And he wasn't here too long. What sort of prep are you guys doing for them? Because they seem to play quite an attacking three at the back. A lot of men forward, play on the break quite a lot of pace out wide. What sort of threat is that going to pose you guys?
Yeah, exactly. I said all them things we've watched, like in the analysis sessions we've done. We've done like little group meetings as well, and like position specific stuff. So I think we know most of their strengths and weaknesses. So I think hopefully we can, like I said, the counter attacking. They like to do that with the three up front, like the one in behind, the two strikers, and then they can pull into a winger sometimes. So I think we know what their strengths are, and hopefully we can attack them as well at the same time and defend their weaknesses.
Yeah, the way you play the game as well, you get your foot on the ball and you pass it forwards really nicely. For you, when you're watching clips of them, when you're analysing what you can be doing against them, are you looking where potential areas and pockets of space where you can be playing players into, where there's opportunities for you to be driving, fixing, and playing people into?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I think there's bits on the analysis that I'm not going to give away in this. So hopefully like some of the spacing and stuff that were picked out in the analysis. So I think there's definitely areas that we can hopefully attack and get through their weaknesses. So I'll try and say. Yeah,
in a game like this, Stephen, where it perhaps might be a little bit more open than the average Championship game is, which I'm sure the Sky cameras enjoy, is a player like Scotty who plays the ball really nicely. He's very progressive and proactive with the way he passes the ball. Is it a sort of game that might suit him?
He could be, yeah. I mean, they play a 3-4-3 generally. It seems to be the very in vogue formation at the moment. Everyone seems to be sort of playing it. I'll be interested to see how Town line up with it, having sort of moved away from it last week, whether they go back to it or not. But I think either way, as much as sort of the penetration, the forward passing, we know that Coventry, whenever we've sort of played them, when we played them twice last season, and whenever I've seen them play on TV, they're exceptionally hardworking. That they've got where they are under Mark Robbins, basically through sort of grit and digging in and working hard and making things tough for the opposition. So I think that there's the energy levels are going to have to be high from both teams, and obviously Scott is one of the players who's going to be bringing that as a central midfielder.
Yeah, is that all stuff that you sort of agree with and you see about yourself? How would you evaluate yourself as a footballer, Scott? If you were Scott High, imagine you were playing for a different team and you were having to analyse yourself and imagine coming up against yourself. What would you say is the type of footballer you are?
Hopefully, like all the things that Steve just said, like all the hard working, pressing, stuff like that. Hopefully, people might think I'm half decent on the ball. But I think the main one's like the hard working one. I think if you can get that boxed off, then you can add bits to your game throughout your career and continue to develop. Yeah.
How have you been finding it being in the side more regularly? Obviously, it's come about since Hoggy's been injured, but you were in and out of the side previously. You've been around the first team, since the start of the season, towards the end of last season as well. Is your game, do you feel, come on quite a bit? Is it something you're relishing and really enjoying?
Yeah, definitely, exactly that. I think having the opportunity to start the last, I can't remember the game it is, but having the opportunity to do that, I think I've added to my game even more, and all the experiences from them games, I can continue to develop that. And then from being away with Scotland and then coming back, I think I had that confidence from them 2 games to take into the Huddersfield games, and hopefully I can continue to build on that confidence.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the Scotland experience. That's no small achievement, being called up for the 21s and you starting games and playing them as well, the majority of them. How is that experience? How is it training under a different regime, seeing how other players play, seeing, you know, the best players from, you know, who Scotland are eligible for at that age group, you know, training alongside them, learning from them? Is that something where you were just almost like a sponge learning things from people and you know, a completely different environment for you to be in?
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's brilliant being a different experience, different challenge and different experience for different people. Like sometimes if you stay in the same regime all the time, it might get a little bit, I won't say boring, but I think you get used to it all of a sudden. And then once you go to a different scenery, you're like, well, there's different coaches, different sessions. You got to be switched on. You got to know what you got to like pick up quickly what he wants you to do and what he don't want you to do and what all the other players are like. So I think it was a really unbelievable experience to like going from the first time and then going there. I think it was exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah. Steve, have you noticed a difference in Scott in the past few games?
Yeah, I mean, I think Scott's been sort of one of the standout players, really. I think you have to, whenever you lose your captain and you're reigning a player of the year, you sort of, you know, you naturally worry about the effect it's going to have. But I think whatever the reasons are for Town's dip in form, certainly don't think Scott's been one of them. I think I always found it interesting, you know, Carlos. Am I right in saying, Scott, you came through the academy more as sort of a number 6 in that Hoggy Vallejo role?
Yeah.
Carlos prefers you as an all-action 10. I just wonder how much you talked about that and what he wants to see in you and how you've sort of gone about making that transition.
Well, yeah, like you said, so when I was in the academy, I always used to be like the 6, like in the pivot of a 3 midfield. So I think I've been used to that. And then I went out to Shrewsbury and I was more like an 8. And then with Carlos, he liked playing players in like some sort of different position sometimes. But I think what he's been saying to me like most of the time is like, if you can add bits to your game from each different position, then you can be like an all-rounder and have everything to your game. So I think if I can add bits to that game, add bits to my game from every position, like I just said, I think it will only help me in good stead instead of making me weaker.
Yeah, I think all-rounder is definitely the term I would use for you.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
What would you say you're most comfortable doing then, Scott? Do you enjoy being on the ball? Is it the defensive side of the game? Because from watching you seem to read the game quite well, and although you're not, you know, as Hoggy does, throwing himself in front of the ball, you seem to intercept it a little bit more. You seem to be, you know, breaking up play a little bit more, almost. So not a direct comparison, but almost a bit more Michael Carricky, if that makes sense.
Yeah. All I want to do is always be on the ball. I think from young I've always had a ball at my feet, so I think always trying to be on the ball is what I want to be. I want to give passes, get it back, and then hopefully find the better passes to get to the more creative players to like create chances to score. But yeah, like you said, I think the defensive side of the game is even bigger now. So it's like we're doing at the minute as a unit, I think it's really key to like stop them breaking us down easily. So like intercepting passes is a key one, and then like covering Lewis or covering, say, Sauber if he's on the right wing or something like that. So always having that balance and know how where their strikers are. If you can intercept the ball, then you can go forward with it.
Yeah, what's it like playing alongside Lewis? Because it's obviously quite a big achievement for not only yourself to be starting as regularly you are in the Championship. When we had Paul Bauer on, he gave us the statistic that the average debut in the Championship is 24 and a half, and you're 20 and playing regularly. So that's an aberration in the greatest of ways that you're doing so. But you're also next to Lewis, who's come through the academy and is also under that age and is playing regularly and is captain the side. And you're both former academy players of the year. Is that a nice thing for you to have come through that experience in similar age groups and playing alongside him again and sort of doing that in the Championship?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I always like Lewis is always someone that I've used to look up to because he always used to play like 2 years above me, and then in the 23s sometimes I'd be on the bench and Lewis would be the captain for the 23. So I was always watching him, and then some games I got to play with him. I remember Watford away at the stadium, I played with Lewis in that game. I think we won like 5-2 or something. But like you said, playing with Lewis, it's brilliant at the minute. Us two in midfield, I'm really enjoying it. Hopefully we can continue to do that.
Have you got a good understanding together? Do you know when one of you goes? Because you both are like a little bit of a jaunt forward sometimes when he goes, and one of you has to sit and all that sort of stuff. You got a bit of a knowledge of who can do what and letting each other get on with each other's games.
Yeah, exactly. In training, we practice that as well. Sometimes on a Wednesday, we might do like 11v11, and so we can get the partnerships and relationships working even better then. So I think we know what each other's strengths are and what we're both good at, and then we can work together to help our weaknesses and work together to, like you said, like if he goes forward, I'll stay back. So sort of dovetailing each other to like get the best out of each other.
Is that a relationship, Stephen, that is coming across in Town's games? Because I think for me and from what I've been seeing, that midfield partnership has been one of the strongest elements of the side over the past handful of matches.
Yeah, I think, as I say, I think Lewis against Barnsley was exceptional. I think we've given Scott man of the match a couple of times as well over the past few games. I think it's good that you've got that understanding, and you know each other's games from sort of the academy days. Obviously, it's different to what you'd have with, as Carlos has alluded to what you'd have with Jonathan Hogg or Alex Vallejo. So I think there's naturally going to be a bit of adjustment while sort of the rest of the squad try and work out the best way to make the most of those, different players' strengths and learn new patterns and playing off each other. But I think it's, I think that, let's be honest, there is a bit of a few injuries in central midfield at the moment. But I think, as Carlos said, it's a positive when you're playing sort of, when you're playing a player who maybe had earmarked as Lewis's cover alongside Lewis, and you're not sort of worried about how he's going to do in the lineup. You're not looking at Scott when he's named in the starting lineup and thinking, oh, he's going to struggle in this one. You can count on him.
Now, is that nice to hear, Scott, that perhaps you're a little bit ahead of where you should be at your stage of development and everything?
Yeah, it's real nice to, and I can only be thankful from that. But I think at the same time, I want to be even better than what I am at the minute. I don't want to just rest on my laurels and take all the compliments and just stay where I am. I want to be even better than what I am, and hopefully I can continue to push on and become a better player. Yeah,
we've mentioned Town's other central midfielders who are both unfortunately are injured at the minute, Alex and Johnny. Is there players that when you train, when you watch them play, that you can learn from? Because obviously they're both vastly different football as well. The range of passing that Alex has, how silky he is on the ball, and Hoggy's work rate, the way he reads the game, gets involved, leads the team by, just sheer presence. Are there two players that are almost nice that give you a bit of a balance as a central midfielder to take things from?
Yeah, exactly. I think I can take bits from everyone in the team, but like you said, everyone in the midfield like group, I think bits from Alex I can take, definitely bits from Hoggy with his leadership, his communication, stuff like that. If I can take bits from each different player, Lewis, Alex and Hoggy, even the younger lads, Josh Huddersfield and stuff like that, I can take bits from their game, and hopefully I can develop them and show them bits as well, and then while I'm learning bits off Hoggy. So it always works down, I think, with the academy lads, because they're always training with us. So I think if I can try and be as best as I can to like match Hoggy and be even better than Hoggy, and he's being better than me, then it'll only build like good relationships with the academy lads.
Yeah, Stephen, I think while we've got Scott on, it's a great opportunity to discuss sort of the way obviously we've restructured of late, and the way that we want to bring players through the age groups. Recently, we had those really positive results from Training Ground Guru, where had we been eligible, we would have been the 19th best academy in the country, which is no small achievement whatsoever. But Scott's development to be playing in the team regularly at 22, as he says, have that ability to not only work alongside the younger players who are playing in the B team and the 19s, but also learn from the seniors. Is that a great example of what the club is aiming to do, and the best possible version of that?
In terms of sort of, having a pathway to the first team for young players, yeah, obviously Scott came through the old academy rather than the new one. But he's also younger now than Lewis was when he made his first team debut, which I think sort of some people forget sometimes. But Yeah, I mean, I think that the club have talked consistently since they made that restructure, because it was controversial. Willfully sort of dropping to a category 4 and focusing on picking up sort of older players who slipped the net. But I think we've seen last season, I think probably the big success stories and the ones who would have counted towards that training ground guru ranking would have been Aaron Rowe and Romani Edmonds-Green, who both played sort of over 20 games each. And for various reasons, obviously, that neither one of them has been in the first team this year, because Romani's gone out on loan and Aaron Rowe's been injured, although came back for the B team the other day, which is good to see. But I know that, it's not just signing players in sort of that teenage category. It's also, I think the initial idea when the club signed Josh Koroma and Sorba Thomas was that they would be B team players for a spell, and that they would sort of pass through that system, even if it was only briefly. And obviously both of them, I think Carlos would say, developed and got into the first team faster than he expected. So, it's, you're looking to pick up players at sort of all ages from sort of 16 through to sort of 23 to put into that system. And I think it's going to be difficult to really judge it, to be honest, for a few years, because I think academies, sometimes you'll get like a load of players come through at once, as has happened a bit with Town. Having not had anyone through the old academy for ages, you've suddenly got Lewis and Scott and Ryan Schofield have all sort of come through at once. And sometimes you just get those sort of fits and starts. So it's going to be difficult to judge for a few years. But I think sort of in Romani and Aaron Rowe, and even likes of players who are out on loan at the moment, like Matty Daly, Kieran Phillips, there's some sort of positive signs there that suggest that the decision was sort of that there was something behind the decision. And Brentford have had sort of similar success as well. So yeah.
That's interesting to hear. Scott, if we just look finally to tomorrow's game, obviously the past few games, the results wise, haven't gone the way we wanted them to go. What's the mood like being in camp? What's the sort of the feeling going into tomorrow? Because I imagine the lads are wanting to put that right. They'll know the Sky cameras are there. They'll know there'll be a decent crowd in, and that there's some expectation and perhaps even a little bit of pressure growing now. Is the want and the desire to put in a proper shift against a team who are right there up there in the table alongside us and show what we're all about, as we did against the likes of West Brom?
Yeah, exactly like you said. I think everyone's focused on getting them 3 points tomorrow and putting in a really good performance and positive performance, hopefully, that the fans will like. So I think the whole week's training has been really good. I think we can take confidence from that and build on that into going into tomorrow and then training today. So I think we're definitely focused to get the 3 points and putting in a really good shift for the fans and for the coaching staff. Yeah.
Well, best of luck for tomorrow, mate. I'll let you get off. I know you've got meetings and some final prep to be doing. And Stephen, thank you very much for joining us as ever. And thank you again to Sports Broker for sponsoring the show. And we'll speak to you soon.